gone live.
Hi everyone, welcome to the first event of LJ's biennial for 2021 or 5781. My name is Jess Mindell and I am one of the current movement workers for our youth movement, LJY Netza. And today I am joined with one of our lovely Bogrimot. We have Bogair Sam Prettyman.
Hi guys, I'm going to be baking some halot with you guys. Got all my stuff weighed out and I'm going to talk you guys through it.
Amazing. So Sam, what are the ingredients that we need to be making?
Okay, so the ingredients, if we go down the list, the first thing you'll need is your sugar and your yeast. So you're going to want 4 teaspoons of yeast and 125 grams of sugar, and that is going to go into 2 cups or 500-ish mils of warm water. Now, from having tested this, sometimes it's better to undergo a little bit with this, and you don't want the water too hot because that can damage the yeast. I'm just going to measure it out here.
So I'm just pouring my already pre-measured out sugar into my water. And then I've got 3 sachets, which is 21 grams of yeast, but I'm sure that the 1 gram is not going to ruin my challah. So that's 1 sachet.
So as this is generally fast-acting yeast, all we need to do is give this a quick stir with any implement, just to make sure it's all mixed and all that sugar dissolved. And then we're going to have to leave it to bloom. So that means that all of the yeast that's kind of been stored in these kind of little granules, it's going to wake up again and start producing all of that CO2 that we want in our bread to make it nice and fluffy.
Yeah, you can definitely smell the yeast, that's for sure.
You can.
I mean, it smells like bread, so that makes a lot of sense.
Don't judge the bread on what the yeast smells like, because it will smell nicer.
Oh, there is nothing better than the smell of freshly baked challah. It's just
Honestly.
the best. I should definitely make challah more often.
It's a lot of effort, but it is worth it.
Yeah,
it's so much better than...
I think I've made challah more this year than I ever have in my life. That's not a bad thing.
COVID gives you a lot more time sometimes, and that can be time to try out new stuff. I know someone who's adventured into like making sourdough bread and things like that.
Oh yeah, I heard lots of people did banana bread at the beginning, didn't they? So mine's looking pretty mixed.
That looks
now
pretty mixed. So essentially, we just want to kind of leave it and let it do its thing for 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll start to see kind of a thick. Let me see if I can show this to the camera. You start to see a little layer, a thick white layer form, and that's all of that yeast activating. So again, all of that sugar that we've put in there. This is me going into my kind of sciencey side.
Go for it.
It's using that as food. So that is it's the yeast is using that and then effectively doing what is the reverse of photosynthesis. So it's using that sugar.
So the sugar isn't to make the challah sweet.
I mean, it's partly to do that, but it also helps. That's why we put so much in, because a bit of it will be eaten by the yeast, and that will help it accelerate that reaction. And then the rest of it will be lovely incorporated into our dry ingredients later.
Oh, that's really cool.
So whilst this is going, you can actually start to get the other stuff ready.
Yeah.
So
what's the next
I have it all pre-weighed out here. So we want 2 tablespoons of oil. So this recipe doesn't have any dairy in it. So in theory, if one was eating meat, they could have this in and it would follow kashrut. I'm personally not a huge eater of meat, but nonetheless, oil I've gone for olive oil. But something like a canola or a rapeseed oil should work just fine.
I've got rapeseed.
And then the 2 other things you will need in terms of your wet ingredients is 2 eggs. I've gone for medium eggs. You could go for large eggs.
And Sam, you might not know this off the top of your head because I definitely don't, but do you know what the replacement for egg is if you're going to be making this vegan by any chance? I have a feeling it's more oil, but I'm not sure.
I've heard of using, I don't know, you know.
Maybe chickpeas?
I was thinking kind of chickpea water, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that. But I'm sure there are loads of recipes out there.
It's probably a combination because there's two components to eggs and they have very different kind of characteristics.
Yeah, and this is obviously not a gluten-free recipe, but there are a lot of gluten-free recipes out there, again, that use things like, what's the stuff called? Like agave oil, I think.
Agave is another type of sugar. If you don't want to use refined sugar, you can use things like honey or something like that. Sometimes you need to change the kind of proportions because they act differently. Personally, I find that syrups can make a lot of mess if you're not careful. But
the worst thing
properly,
when you measure out a tablespoon of sugar, not sugar, of honey or syrup or something like that, and you're trying to get it off your spoon and it just will not come off your spoon.
An interesting tradition that I only found out about when my brother got married a year or so ago was apparently for the first year of marriage, you should be having honey on your challah every week.
Oh, that's very nice. That's a very sweet. I guess salt. It's like the sweet start of a marriage, maybe.
Yeah.
Like how with Rosh Hashanah and the sweet start to the year.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure I'll be able to show this to the above camera, but I can definitely show it to this camera. You can sort of see that there are now.
Oh, yours is going crazy.
Yeah, there is definitely a separation here of my.
Even if yours isn't quite the same. But we'll see if we can do a little bit of that. You can see there is a slight layer.
There definitely is. So how long, much longer do we leave this for, Sam?
It needs to be left for a couple more minutes, but we can weigh out our dry ingredients. Now, it sounds like a lot of salt, but this makes a lot of bread. You're going to want a whole tablespoon of salt and 2 pounds of flour. Now, pounds to metric, obviously, I tend not to use metric imperial measurements, but that is what this one is. Do we know what that is in imperial? Let me give that a check.
So 2 pounds is about 900 grams. So I've got, in a very weird container, I've got my 900 grams weighed out in a very large, what's this called? Jug, that's the word. My brain left me for a moment.
So now we've left this for a bit. We're probably good.
Or 900 grams of flour. We've got our 2 eggs ready, and we've got a tablespoon of salt, and then we will also need a tablespoon of oil.
2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons of oil, my mistake. So what's next?
We can start combining the wet ingredients together. So I'm just going to put them straight into this jug. That's easiest for me. But you want to put the oil in?
I'm going to move my wet ingredients to my mixing bowl.
Sometimes for mixing up these wet ingredients and then going to mix them into the dry ingredients, some kind of fork or similar, just to move it through, can be quite handy.
So now we also add our 2 tablespoons of oil. There's 1. And there's 2.
So it's quite handy to crack an egg into a cup so you can check for blood spots. Also, if you're like me and you can't crack them well, and sometimes you get shell in them, helps with that too.
I always do it because of the shell. But that one seemed to be quite successful.
Pro tip, don't crack it on the side of a glass or something. Flat on the table leaves the membrane more intact, which means it's less likely to get shell in it.
Oh, that's really cool. I'm going to give that a try. I'm a bit nervous about that. Oh, that worked really well. There you go. Learned a new skill. How to crack an egg with the
one of those things that you just get told one time.
Yeah.
Quite handy.
And this goes in our with all of our wet ingredients, right?
Yes, so that goes in with the yeast and the sugar and the water. And we're just going to try and mix it up. First those yolks. And it doesn't need to be like entirely homogeneous, but as long as it kind of looks pretty consistent throughout. Obviously, you're going to struggle to get that oil to emulsify into the water.
Yeah.
So the egg will help.
So I'm just being a bit of a cheat and, well, I say being resourceful. Others may say I'm cheating. And I am just going to let mine whisk away in the mixer. Those of you who know me very well will know that I am not a baker per se. And like I said earlier, I've probably made challah more times this year than I ever had in my life through doing live streams for LJ and LJY. I also, if you saw our live streams earlier this year, we were cooking hamantaschen and we did some matzah as well. Those are all on LJY's Facebook. If next year for Pesach or Purim, you would like to learn how to make an LJY approved recipe for either matzah or hamantaschen.
Now, I'm hoping this doesn't come out like matzah.
Me too.
But what we're going to do now that's all mixed up, are you all good on your end, Jess?
I'm actually not. My yolks were still not having done anything, so I've just put it on a bit stronger.
Sometimes if you pulse it on a higher speed just for a second, it can faster.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. There we go. Learning new things all the time with baking. So this is what my mixture looks like now. Nice and
see, mine, it kind
glossy.
of just looks a bit cloudy.
Yeah, but exactly.
What can help is if you make a little well for it to start in. And it's not that you have to pour it in gently, but sometimes it can help so it doesn't become a sloppy mess.
Mm-hmm.
But we add a bit in to the center.
Oh, you're adding that into the flour.
You can do it either way.
Okay, I'm going to do it the other way.
It's just because I have a big bowl with dry ingredients in.
Sure.
I'm choosing to do it this way. But
okay, so we're adding our 900 grams of flour or 2 pounds, a tablespoon of salt, and all of the wet ingredients that we just mixed together all into one bowl.
Absolutely. Now, when we get to this stage and you're mixing it together, you may find that it's a little watery or a little sticky still. Your hands may get a little bit messy, but have some extra flour on hand just to kind of help it. You want it still to be tacky, but you don't want it to be a runny mess necessarily.
Perfect. So I'm going to start this slowly so that the flour doesn't spew out everywhere, as I have found out the hard way many a times, even with a lid on.
So if you're looking for a little, stay-at-home workout, don't use a mixer. Kneading can be quite good for your arms.
Yeah.
But if you're sensible and you have a mixer, then use one of those because it makes this a lot easier.
And I'm now going to move from the whisking, what's the word? The thing that's attached, the whisking tool, and I'm going to change over to my kneading tool now that it's a bit.
I'm also changing over to my kneading tools. There's one,
those your
here's the other. Yeah. What you can find
Sam,
with those, yes.
What does kneading do to our?
So kneading the dough, and the more you knead it, it develops gluten. Mm-hmm. So all of that gluten that's in that flour that makes things lovely and stretchy and gives it that bounce that you see in bread, that's what you're building up now. And it's just through moving the fibers between each other, getting that yeast involved with the dough. Okay. So at a certain point, you'll need to turn this out onto a surface.
You'll what? You'll need to.
You'll need to. I know. I'm very punny today.
You're on a holla roll. That was an awful pun. I'm not very punny.
So mine here is starting to get a little sticky. So what I have prepared,
very sticky.
A little bowl of flour, and you wanna go a bit at a time because you don't want it to be too dry.
Oh.
Otherwise, it'll start to crack, and then you won't be able to get those nice long strands.
I am
which make for a lovely plaque.
I am feeling the long strands now with my my method of using the mixer has not kept my hands quite so clean because they are now very sticky.
When we're kneading, if you're doing it by hand, this is not the cheating method, a la Jax. You want to take the heel of your palm and just push it through and fold it over. And you can do this in different directions, just again, trying to build up all of that gluten within the bread. And if you feel it getting a little sticky, little dust of flour, just keep going.
Mine definitely got sticky, so I put some more flour in. And now it's happily kneading itself away whilst I stand here with my very mushy, sticky fingers. So Sam, what are you doing in life at the moment?
In life at the moment, I am in my third year of a 4-year chemistry course at the University of Leicester. So I'm originally from Leicester, so I haven't actually gone that far from home. But that's actually been quite nice in lockdown. Meant that outdoor walks with, well, 2 of my siblings have now moved back as well. So I get to see them a lot. Really, I now have a nephew, so I get to see him.
Oh, Mazel Tov.
Thank you, thank you.
What's his name?
Eli. Eli is 15 months, maybe 16.
That's a very sweet age. Although I feel like me saying that as someone who has not yet had children myself, I'm sure that there'll be lots of parents who are yelling at their screens saying that 15 months is not a cute age.
Well, 15 months, well, at least for Eli, he's getting up and moving about. Everything is danger.
Oh, I see. So mine is still quite sticky. So I
might have to add a bit more flour again.
Yeah, definitely.
You might end up using closer to 1 kilogram.
Yeah, I'm reckoning so. But that's okay. We have spare flour.
The individual absorbency can kind of vary as well in terms of kind of how your flour goes. So with this recipe, you want to try and use a bread flour rather than just a regular plain flour. It works much better to develop gluten.
Definitely. And for anyone watching back home who is wondering what LJY is up to at the moment, we have just this week launched our summer camp, Machane Kadima. We are officially back this summer. Some of you may have known that we did a spring camp this year as well, but that was an in-person non-residential camp at Finchley Progressive Synagogue, which we had a wonderful time at, but wasn't quite the same as how LJY used to be with our residentials. And so we're super, super excited to have launched Machane Kadima. That will be happening from the 16th to the 29th of August. At a boarding school in Salisbury. We're super, super excited to be back after such a long time of not being able to do any in-person events. And the other really exciting thing that LJY is doing this summer, I'm not sure, you may have seen, you may have not seen that Israel tours are not able to go ahead this year due to the ongoing pandemic. It's just not feasible to be sending people abroad. But instead, we have launched a really exciting 2-week-long a residential camp called Machane Hineni, which will be taking place 2 weeks before, or about 3 weeks before Kadima. And it's specifically for LJY members or non-LJY members who are aged in years 11 and 12, so age 16 and 17. It's at a really exciting adventure camp where we'll be having a mixture of Hadraha, which is where they'll learn to be leaders, but also going rock climbing, canoeing, maybe some archery. So if you haven't seen any of those yet, please head over to our website, which is ljy-nexa.org, and then all of the information, including price and sign up links, will be there for you. So that's super, super exciting.
So what you're looking for in your dough at this point is you want to be able to press your finger into it and it just to bounce back. So that's the gluten there. So you should be able to just press into it and you'll see it spring back at you, and that's the gluten holding it tight.
I think that's what mine's doing.
Perfect.
And we have a question from Owen. Hi, Owen. Nice to see you. Owen has asked, do you think it might be possible to make a version of challah using a bread making machine?
So my dad
Sam?
actually makes it with a bread making machine.
Ah.
So what he does is it's essentially just a recipe. It includes, most of them will have a recipe for a dough that leads time for proving as well, similar to like a pizza dough. So what you can do is put in all your ingredients, it'll mix it up, let it rest, and then all you need to do is take it out, plait it up, stick it in the oven. So it won't be able to finish it, but yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. And so then, Sam, because you seem to know the science behind it, what's the difference between challah and normal bread that makes a bread machine not quite capable? Or is it just that we like to plait challah?
So because it's essentially a plaited loaf, and most bread machines will work, there's a little kind of rotating spindle at the bottom that kind of it mixes it and mixes it and mixes as it goes through. So if you were doing that, you can generally only make loaves, but most bread machines can also be used to make different doughs as well. Hence the ability to make this. So this is going to now need to go and improve. So if you gather all the edges up and just bring them underneath, you should get a nice taut ball, much like this.
There we go.
And we're just going to want to put this back in a bowl. It can be the bowl that you've just mixed in if it's looking pretty clean, or a different bowl.
Pretty clean.
And you want to cover it with a tea towel. And now find the warmest, well, not the warmest, but a warm place in your house. Or if you don't have that, you can always put it in an oven that you've put on the very, very lowest setting for just 5 minutes, just so it's a little warmer than room temperature. And a la Blue Peter, we get another dough. So I'm going to put this other one into proof and just get my worktop ready to make some.
So as Sam said, we have both set dough to prove before this session so that we can show you the next steps. Because as much as I think that you all like seeing us, I'm not sure that you could be dealing with 45 minutes of nothing, really. So how long do we prove the bread for? Sam,
so the bread is best proved for at least 40 minutes, preferably if you can, up to an hour, maybe a little longer. But as with most breads, you get kind of bigger pockets of air. So if you think of something like a kind of a ciabatta or something that has lots of big holes, the longer you leave it, the more that gluten gets involved, and it can overprove. So what you're essentially
this is what I had a smaller bowl.
Double in size.
Yeah, so I had a smaller bowl than I had dough, but this is my proved dough now. Very
what
fluffy.
You're going to want to do is flour up a work surface, be semi-liberal, because generally these things, as the actual flour has had time to hydrate whilst it's proving, it may look a little wetter. So using a scraper or your hand, you just want to get it out onto a work surface.
Oh, it's so fluffy. Wow.
All of those strands. Perfect.
I was going to just tip my bowl upside down, but I feel like that would probably not
It can work
the way we want it to.
It's just a very strandy type dough. Now this can make quite a lot of colour. So I'm going to take this quite large bit and I'm going to make 2 halot out of this. So using any kind of separating device, I'm going to use my same scraping device. I'm just going to chop it in half. I'm only going to use half for this bit.
This is a huge lot of dough. I'm definitely going
and
to.
And remember, this will expand again in the oven.
I'm going to cut mine in half.
And I'm going to put that other lot back in the bowl. If you have something to cover it with, that's always advised. You don't want your bread dough to dry out because then you get cracks and things. Doesn't look quite as nice. Now, Jess, how good are you feeling at plaiting today?
Well, I
was going to attempt a 6 plait brave, but I don't feel quite confident, so I'm going to go for a 3 because I know I can do
if
that.
you do a 3 plait, maybe I do a 4 plait.
Perfect.
Well, I haven't done a 4 plait in a very long time, but I'm sure the method is still there in my head somewhere. So am I supposed to keep kneading this now?
No need to knead it. So what you need to do is you just need to chop it into however many strands you're going to do. And essentially what we're going to make is sausages.
Okie dokie. Kosher sausages.
Really long sausages, as even as you can in kind of width. Sometimes it's nice to have floured hands. Just squeeze it out to start with. And the key with plaiting challah, at least in my mind, is tight plaits. The tighter your plaits are, the more height your bread will get, and it won't look like it's all flat.
I see.
So as you can see now, I can pull that straight and it springs right back.
Yeah. And that's because of all the gluten, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. And Sam, should we be preheating our oven at this point?
Yes, you should. I believe to 180, or it might be 200. I will check in just a minute.
I'm still rolling out. I seem to have very thick sausages at the moment, so just trying to get them a bit longer. And you said the long and thinner the better, right?
Yes. So this is going to eventually go in an oven for 20 to 30 minutes at 180.
Okay.
So you want to be preheating your oven to about that.
Preheat my oven to 180. There we go. You have to excuse, I'm not sure if you can hear it, but my coffee machine decided to make noise in my background.
That's going to go.
I'm a very slow roller, I must say. I'm only just doing the first one. Move on to the second one now. I think it's harder to roll this than Play-Doh. And I assume that's because Play-Doh doesn't have gluten and so it doesn't spring back into its old shape.
Play-Doh does, and this is getting quite sciencey, but what would be called as plastic deformation. Right. So in terms of kind of engineering, what you'll have is you have elastic deformation. So that's deformation where it springs back to it. So some of the stretching that we're doing here, some of it is shrinking back. It's reversible. Plastic deformation is when you stretch it and it keeps that form. So Play-Doh is a lot more plastic in that regard, whilst our bread here, or bread dough, is a lot more elastic. But that's what we want.
So it's the difference between plastic and elastic. Although I'm sure actual elastic is a type of plastic.
Actual elastic is pretty elastic as far as things come.
Yeah. Please feel free to ask us any questions. if you are watching live on Facebook. Hopefully, maybe someone in the tech team, if there is any questions, can just put them through to us in Zoom. If you're watching,
if you've got any questions about chemistry, I will try and answer them.
If you've got any questions about LJY, I'm sure I'll definitely be able to answer them. So at the moment, we are just rolling, for anyone who's just joined, we are just rolling out our pre-proven dough into as many strands as we would like to make. So I am doing a 4-strand braid. And Sam, did you decide if you were doing a 6-strand or a 3-strand?
I'm going to stick to a 3. If I do a 6, I will post it on Facebook and tag LJY.
Oh, yes. Yes, and please, for anybody watching at home, if you are making this along with us, or you're going to make it tomorrow at some point, watching the live stream back, please use the hashtag LJBiennial to send us through any of your challah. Yeah.
Challah? Yeah.
Challah.
How are you doing on your strands, Jess?
I've just got this last one left, and then I should be ready to plait. This one's a particularly spongy one. How are you doing?
Spongy's good. Spongy's good.
Yeah. I think I'm going to, after having made, because like, so the amount of dough that we've made, as Sam said earlier, will make 2 full-sized challah, and because me and Sam both have made 2 batches of it, we're going to end up with 4 full-sized challah. So I might drop some round to my family members for the Shabbat, because I definitely cannot, with my household, eat 4 challah over
I may
one
see
weekend.
if people from the local JSOC.
Oh, that's a lovely idea.
Stuff. I also have my parents, my sister, and my brother that I can drop around to them, so I can be making challah for ages.
Okay, I think I've got my 4 strands ready. I think they're roughly all about the same length. Sam, do they look okay? Do mine look okay? Perfect.
Well, so they can stick if you leave them for quite a while. I'm just lifting up all of mine before I start. So you want to take the 3 ends and you just want to squidge them together. And then if you just roll it slightly under itself, and you start off with a little ball at the end like that. Now, again, tight is better. So I'm going to take the middle, the outer one, and I'm going to pull it into the middle, and I'm just going to make sure that it's absolutely braided at the very end. And then as we repeat this, the tighter it is up to that end, the more height you will get on the end.
I see. So we're just braiding our challah. Owen says, challah or challah, I can never decide which it is. I guess that's true, because, you know, these are just transliterations. It's not.
This is true. There is no correct
in
spelling.
English. There is no correct spelling. It's like, do you spell Hanukkah with a CH or an H? Or what else is there? Do you put a CH at all when you say Hebrew words that have the het in them? It's all, I guess it's all up for our own interpretation within sort of reason. Mia says, hello, with an exclamation mark. Hi, Mia. Nice to see you. I hope you're well. So if anyone can notice, with a 4 braided challah, you sort of have what looks like a strand that's always going down the middle. It's not, it's alternating, of course, but with it all being the same color, it does end up looking like the same strand. If anybody's watching and wants to know how to plait someone's hair in a 4-stranded braid, this middle strand is always quite fun to do with a ribbon. So you're using 2 strands of their hair and 2 strands of ribbon, and you end up with the ribbon being the plait that's going down the middle. Just a little fun thing there. How's your challah looking, Sam?
So I've got one, and it's quite long. as it happens, and it hasn't got
Oh,
that much height. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly make my other one as well.
oh, go for it. I'm still going with my first one. This way next. I've just lost my direction there for a second, but we're still going on.
So if you're like us and you decide to make 2 batches, it should time itself pretty well that once this first lot is done in the oven, your oven should be just about ready to accept the next lot.
Oh yeah, of course. That makes sense. Mine is nearly done. I think I'm almost ready to squish. Yeah, there we go. So I'll squish the end. I'll see if there. That's what my hollow looks like. You can see it's sort of got this
Very nice.
zagging down the center.
So I'm going to get some greaseproof paper to put on. If we have any, we may not have greaseproof paper. In that case, at a pinch, if you're a student like I am, bit of foil with a gentle dusting of flour on it.
Bit of foil.
Work just fine.
I'm looking for my baking tray. There we go. Do you say a bit of foil
So
with
if
flour?
you, in terms of glaze, you can use a bit of foil with flour. It should work just fine. Again, you're just trying to use something to stop it sticking. So the more generous you are,
the crinkly noise. I think that's quite loud.
with the flour, the better.
There we go.
So in terms of glaze, you can use some milk, you can use an egg, you can leave it unglazed. This is the point where if you wanted poppy seeds or sesame seeds, that'll be a prime time. Using those. So I just lift this up. This is my shorter one, as you can see.
Oh, it looks so cute.
Little beardy one.
Here's my
See if I can do a little
4-stranded
one of those and just change the lighting slightly so that you can see. So I'm going to just put that on there. Switch my light
Sam,
back on so you can all see me.
Does this grow much in length in the oven or just in height?
It should grow in both. It'll grow kind of out.
Oh.
So I am now just debating how I want to do this and whether I want to put the other one on a different thing, which I may want to.
So I think I'm going to glaze mine with some milk. So I'll just grab a bit of milk.
I'm not aware of the properties that different milk substitutes give to bread.
Maybe you could glaze it with a chickpea water again.
Yeah.
Who knows? I will have to ask someone who is vegan to.
I'm sure if there is a Jess Baker around.
That's who's in my head right now. Jess Baker, if you're watching this, please let us know. You can tell I'm not really a baker because I don't have a glazing thing, but I'm going for a, this is like a cake slicer, but I feel like it will hopefully sort of do the same.
So if you're like me and you've made one that is too long, it is not as traditional, but you can always make a nice circular braid.
I thought you were going to say cut it in half for a second, and I got really.
Oh, no. Sacrilegious.
Circular braid sounds fun, though.
Now,
I'm just
going to pop into my secret cupboard over here.
I think I may have put a bit too much milk on, but never mind. It's all a learning experience. And so what do we do with our challah once we have glazed it, Sam?
So once we've glazed it, it's ready for the oven.
And how long does it go in our oven for?
For 25 to 30 minutes at 180. If you haven't preheated your oven and you need to do that now, not the end of the world. Better that your oven is hot when it goes in than anything else.
Oh, I'm playing a bit of a juggling game with my challah, with my oven.
So I'm just gonna mix an egg here.
That looks about the right amount of space. Ah, perfect. There we go. So mine is now in the oven and will cook for half an hour.
So,
and that is basically how you make a challah. And like Sam said, you can put on sesame seeds or poppy seeds, or maybe you put some other sorts of seeds on.
I've seen someone do a black sesame. So
interesting. So it looks like
a bit like both.
Oh, really cool. But yeah, so that's basically how we make challah. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be constantly available, the live stream, but if it is, you can always come back to the recipe to look at it. Myself and possibly Sam will be posting the photos of our halot afterwards on the LJ at Home group, or maybe we can post it on the LJ Biennial page. Other than that, the next set of sessions for Biennial will be tomorrow. This is just sort of a pre-Biennial thing so that you can have your challah ready for Shabbat tomorrow. The Biennial will be launching officially tomorrow evening. There will be sessions on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will also be running an LJY track. So we will be running some kef, a good old-fashioned ganga shlaf. We'll be doing Havdalah. We do love a ganga shlaf. And we will also be running a Ma'amad on Sunday morning for LJY participants. So please come along to as many of the sessions as you would like to. We would love to see all of your faces there. And so all that's really for myself and Sam to say now is bake your challah for half an hour, and Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful Biennial weekend.
Shabbat Shalom.